All right, welcome to another Iaei News Live. My name is Thomas Dimitrovich, and today is Tuesday, and I am here at home. I don't leave till tonight. We're going down this week to the international office. We're going to have our last face-to-face. I think it's our last face-to-face. I don't know. It might be another one. For NEC 2026 codes analysis of changes. So we are, man, kicking butt, taking names. Awesome. So let's see who we got in the house here. We got Steve. Good morning. Oh, excellent. Yeah. So there, I put some key references in the description. Hopefully, people get a lot out of that. So, yep. All of those are very important. And UL67, I like the application guide for Panelboards. I might be referencing that I will be referencing that during our call today. I see my little trash can here. I'm going to hit the empty on the trash can. All right, Jason Doty in the house. Happy Tuesday. Yes, we're going to be talking Panelboards. And I have a feeling that it is going to be an active. I agree with you. Dan, hit that like button. Smash that like button so you don't forget towards the end. Absolutely. Why put off until the end what you can do today now, right? Laurel is in the house. We've got research department in the house. Laurel, thank you for joining us. Michael Hofkin, we have our UL person in the house. And then we got David Englehart. Greetings from Florida, right? You are kicking butt and taking names in Southwest Florida. Southwest. I used to live in Tampa, St. Pete. And then we got Eric Hammond. Salute. Another great Tech Tuesday. Dan, look at that. Everybody's talking to each other too. Willie Snyder, happy Tech Tuesday. Joe Bellantoni. Excellent. We got Nihad in the house. He and I had a good conversation yesterday. And then there it is. UL Solutions is happy to provide that application guide. Absolutely awesome resource for the industry, Michael. Thanks UL for making that happen. And I think Eric Hammond likes it too. And we've got, now we can get started. Columbia is represented. We've got Felix Sandoval in the house. All right, so we did our good mornings and good afternoons and good evenings for all of those who are out there. I've got my spectacles. I've got my resources open. I've got my web browser up. I'm going to close that. I got to close that. Geez, oh man, I've got too many things open. I need to get now, before we go any further, let me do this. Hopefully, you're going to do what I'm doing here, and that will be, you're going to go to NFPA link. So I have it bookmarked right here. I don't know if you can see it. I don't even know if I can do this. Nope, I can't. It's right here, NFPA link. link.nfpa.org. This is my dashboard on NFPA Link. I would highly suggest that you get your membership. If you're not on NFPA Link, you need to get out there and get it, because I'll tell you, I use it. It's now become old hat. And you guys and gals know where I was at the beginning of this NFPA Link thing. And I am sort of like when I got my first Apple MacBook. I am just hooked. I'm hooked. I'm going to open NFPA 70, the 2023 edition. You click on NFPA link, you click on your NFPA 70, you have access to all of the different chapters. There's a search engine over here. So we're going to talk Panelboards today. So if I type in Panelboard in the description, I get 10 full page. Is it just 10? Let me go to 10. No, 14. No, 18. No, 22. No, 25. Oh my gosh, look at this. 25 pages. 25 pages where the... Oh, and then here's the other thing. You can uncheck include enhanced content. I just learned this. So I had an issue where I would search for something and then I would click on the section and I wouldn't find it in the language. There's this checkbox called include enhanced content. If you uncheck that, now, let me see how many pages we get. We get 18. So what it does is it reduces, it moves, it doesn't search the enhanced content. And remember, the enhanced content is non-enforceable language. It is somebody's opinion. That's all it is. So that's basically what a key trick that, or something that I learned. I think I may have learned that one on my own. Oh, we got Vince B from NREL. Excellent. Vinny B. And then Dan. When will we be getting to the guts of the... Oh, I love it. I love it. The guts of the presentation. Absolutely. Well, Dan, I don't know what just happened, but something happened. And I don't know what had happened. I hit presentation mode and now, I don't know, I got stuff all over the place. I don't know. Oh, let me hit escape. I think I got to go to slideshow, setup slideshow. Oh, there it is. Browse by, no, that's not it. Manually settings, monitor, show and monitor 3. Presentation by speaker. Loop. I don't want that. All right, custom show. I don't need that. Manual. I hit OK. I think I'm good. Show media controls. Play narratives. I'm not going to check that. I'm going to leave that in. All right, so I don't know what I just did. Play from start. Yeah, I don't know why it does this. Anyway, I should be able to do this. Nope. There it is. But it's the wrong side. Anyway, all right, so you guys are like, what is Tom talking about? Well, for some reason, oh, let me move this down here. If I move it here and I go to presentation mode, now it works. No, it doesn't. I don't know what I did, but it's not working right. I'm not going to put it in presentation mode. Escape. Escape. I'm just going to slide this over. So what you're going to see is my slide deck. And that's all there is to it. And let me do that. Let me put this on home. Okay, so Panelboards. This should work. For some reason, when I put it in presentation mode, it doesn't like me. I don't know if it's that thing down here or not. Nope. All right, so I want to talk Panelboards. The first place we're going to go, the first place I want to go is to the definition. So let's open up the definition. I'm going to use the 2023 edition of the code book. So I'm in NFPA link and just got out of meetings. Hey, Steve, thanks for joining us. All right, so what we'll do is I will open, in addition to NFPA link, I'm going to do this. I'm also going to go to www.nfpa.org/70next, and we're going to take a look at the next edition so everybody can do this out there. When you go to the next edition, you'll see a link for the first draft report and a link for the second draft report. I'm going to click on the second draft report, and what this does, it brings up what they call TerraView, and this is your window into where the current state of the National Electrical Code resides. All right, so I will be able to navigate to Article 100 and look at the definition of panel board. And what I'll try to do is we'll talk about what the 2023 code says, and then we'll take a look at maybe some of what the latest is in 2026, what's coming down the pike. Okay, so panel boards. Let's talk panel boards. Article 408. No, the first thing is the definition. Forget about Article 408, because if you don't know what a panel board is, remember the discussion last week was around the definitions and how the definitions are a gateway. And this is really a continuation of that discussion. So what I wanted to do today, Steve, was I wanted to learn by example, right? So last week we keyed in on appliance, and we looked at the defined term for an appliance, what an appliance was based upon the National Electrical Code. I think it was appliance, and yeah, it was appliance, because we never got past the A's. I just scrolled down and said, hey, let's pick a word. So I'm getting past the A's, the B's, the C's, and I'm going straight to a panel board, because panel board and the defined term of a panel board is your gateway into the requirements. So before we even venture into the code, I need to know what I'm working on. So if I am looking at a piece of equipment that looks like this, geez, oh man, I can't. Let me minimize this. And I gotta go to view. Oh, is it over here? Geez, I am having some issues with PowerPoint today. I really am. Guides, grid lines, outline, normal. There we go. So I can't, for some reason, I can't drag my... All right, Control C, Control V. Come up here, delete. All right, so if you're looking at a product like this, where you've got, where you have the enclosure and the guts, right? So what you see on the left is the panel board interior, and that was I think it was Dan talked about getting to the guts, or the the guts of the presentation. So the interior of this piece of equipment, and what I'm showing over here is actually a Canadian. So all of the Canucks out there, this is my line side barrier. This is a Canadian panel board that has the complete upper portion of the panel board blocked off, based upon the rules up in Canada, because you're not allowed to bring any other conductors other than the service conductors into that area. So, oh yeah, Steve, yes, there's a really good resource for the NEMA document as well. So what you're seeing here is, if you're the first thing you've got to do when you see a piece of equipment, you're going to have to sit down and say, what is that piece of equipment? You got to know, is it a panel board, a switchboard, switch gears, an industrial control panel? What is it? And ways that we determine what it is by looking at the listing and the information that's on, say, the inside door. So if you looked at this, image right over here, you'll see a lot of labels on here, and you'll see that there's inside this door, there's a cut sheet, there's information that's here. So in fact, let me do this. Oh, to find my mouse. Take your time, Tom. So if I search for Panelboard, I've started this thing on my computer where I basically, oh yeah, Panelboard. All right, so these are big pictures. I'm gonna go back to my, I went to the photos, but I wanted to go to is my folder for pictures. So in my pictures folder, I created a tag for my photos called Panelboard. And I'm just gonna bring this up. I'm just gonna put this over, where am I gonna put it? I will put it over here. All right. And we'll take a look at some pictures. Oh, this is a good one here. In fact, I had this on the cover of this event. So I took this photo out at a job site, and what you're looking at here is a panel board right here. So, and I've got a panel board on this side of the wall too. So you'll see on this side is a panel board. So in this panel, I mean, look at all the wires, right? So you've got, it's a bottom feed. I would think it's a bottom feed. And then you've got an arc energy reduction maintenance technology up here. You've got all of these circuit breakers. It looks like a big gray box, which it is. There's a lot of stuff in here, but this is a panel board mounted on the wall, obviously. Hit escape. That's a panel board. Where's another panel board? You will get, oh, let's take a look at this. This is a good example too. So another thing that people forget, if you look at a panel board like this, this is what some people will call it a load center. This is a panel board. What you would do is you would look at the inside of the door. If I'm out into the field and I'm looking at an installation, I'll go to the labeling on the equipment, find out. You'll typically see it's labeled as what it's called: panel board, switchboard, switchgear, industrial control panel, whatever it is. And you'll see the information on the inside of the door. So the first thing you do is you look at what is there. Then we go to the defined terms and understand what that piece of equipment is. So if I think about the definition in the 2023 code of what a panel board is, it's a single panel or group of panel units designed for assembly in the form of a single panel, including buses and automatic overcurrent devices. Let me do this. There we go. I'm going to, as I read this, I want to put this on the screen. Okay. So I'm reading something over here. Single panel or group of panel units designed for assembly in the form of a single panel, including buses and automatic overcurrent devices, and equipped with or without switches for the control of light, heat, or power circuits, designed to be placed in a cabinet. So the piece of equipment here that I'm showing on this screen is the internal bus and structure that holds the overcurrent protective devices. That's technically the panel board. And it's designed to be placed in a cabinet. So this metal enclosure on the outside is my cabinet. Enclosure or cutout box placed in or against a wall, partition, or other support. So I've got to support this thing. And accessible only from the front. So a panel board's not going to have rear access, side access, etc. It's only accessible from the front. So that's opening the front door, taking off the dead front, all that good stuff. Oh man, dead front is another. Willie, There's another another good term is Deadfront. We just had this discussion. So we had this discussion on what is a Deadfront. If I opened up the panel and everything inside was finger safe, are those finger safe solutions considered Deadfront? Or is it just to have an interior panel board? So if I look at the definition of what is Deadfront, here's another defined term. Without live parts exposed to a person on the operating side of the equipment. So the term Deadfront does not necessarily mean that you have to have that, let me do this. Does not necessarily mean, if you think about this enclosure. So if I look at this enclosure and I'm going to put in a shape, an arrow to the future. So when you think about, let me make it red. This, remember, I remove this outer panel cover, and when I remove this, there's a dead front that stays in front of these panels, which is probably this gray right here. That we typically associate that with a dead front, meaning that barrier, that panel, but that's not what the definition indicates. The definition indicates that a dead front is without live parts exposed to a person. So without live parts exposed to a person on the operating side of the equipment. Now, we can have a debate on what do we mean by operating side of the equipment. Your panel boards will employ, your typical panel boards employ those big metal fronts. But that doesn't mean that when I say dead front, that's what you need. All I need is to make sure that I don't have live parts that are exposed to a person. So if I had an enclosure that had everything inside was finger safe, or what? So IP20, I think is what it's called. Finger safe electrical solution. I'm just going to Google it, or I'm using my search engine, and I'm going to go to images, and let's take a look. Boy, I don't get much. Here we go. How about this? This is more of a European thing, but so when I look at this type of a circuit breaker has these barriers that are here, and they are finger safe. I'm going to assume they're finger safe. Unlike these. Those, remember, all of these terminals here are exposed, so you need something to cover these. And what we do when we cover those, we basically put that metal frame over it. But I could have a solution that is, let's take a look at this one. Little Fuse has this device. That has, this is 160 amp Iaei, this is UL, 600 volts. So all of the exposed parts in here are covered. Finger, I don't know if it's two different words. If it's finger safe, 2 words, finger safe. I did it as 1 word. But in any case, you get my drift, right? So we know what the language says. For finger safe, and we know, or for dead front, and so that's my thought process is I want to make sure we understand what a dead front is, and we'll typically see those on panel boards. Let's take a look. I'm going to go. I hear comments. Let's go back. Done, 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 done. Just got out of a meeting. So here, NEMA guide also has a glossary of terms. Excellent. Yep. And that's in the description for this. Panelboard in an enclosure. Absolutely, Jason. Willie Snyder says the panel board was filled with 100% rated breakers. Oh, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. Robert from Omaha, thanks for joining. And that's a good point because they make a hinge on the panel cover for inspections. Can that be opened while energized? Well, anything can be opened while energized if you take the safety precautions. If you're doing justified energized work, Willie, I mean, I would advise what you would want to do is get a good class in 70E safe work practices. If you're going to open a panel while energized, then that would be considered energized work. You would need a live work permit, describe everything that you're going to do, read the information from the manufacturer, because not all manufacturers' panel board covers open the same way. So be careful on how you engage with each individual manufacturer's assemblies. They have the Iris windows also. Yeah. So the Iris windows are able to be put into panel boards. I mean, it's amazing what they can do with those IR scanning windows. IR scanning windows can be used, unbelievable. Robert says touch safe rather than finger safe, I think. Remove the I think no, it's two words. Finger safe, and I think finger safe is IP20. IP20 is IP20 finger safe. IP20 finger. IP20 is a rating, offers protection against accidental contact with finger-sized objects, preventing them from reaching hazardous areas within the device. Now, I might be able to prevent a finger, but I may not be able to prevent a probe of some sort where you would use to measure voltages, right? So we know what the definition is. Go back to the definition. Panel board, we know what the definition is of a panel board. Yep, finger safe is two words. So where does the switchgear end and the panel board begin? Based on standards, Dan. So you've got to understand what a panel board is listed to, what standard it is listed to, and what switch gear is listed to. And I think the more confusing part, Dan, is switchboards. Because a switchboard can have panel boards inside. A switchboard is an assembly within which I can have a transformer, and then the same question would apply, Dan. Where does the transformer start? Where does the switchboard end, right? But if a transformer is in the switchboard, the entire assembly is a switchboard, and it's listed to 891, UL 891 for switchboards. But that doesn't mean a transformer is not a transformer, right? And a transformer will have to be evaluated to its standards. There are circuit breakers in a switchboard. There are molded case circuit breakers in a switchboard. There are insulated case circuit breakers in a switchboard. They don't cease to be circuit breakers listed to UL 489 once you put them in a switchboard, but when they're in the assembly, the overall assembly is a switchboard, and the components are still listed to the standards that they're listed to. A panel board can be put in a switchboard, but it's still a panel board. And inside that panel board will be molded case circuit breakers and possibly fusible switches. So all of those are listed as such. Good question, though. Switchgear is the assembly together with the interior and enclosure. Robert, I couldn't have said it better myself. Mr. Snyder, is a switchboard and a motor control center listed to the same standard? No. Switchboards are 891, but they're similar. MCC UL standard, I can't remember what an MCC is, 845. Motor control centers are listed to UL 845. Switchboards are 891. Panelboards are UL 67. So, and now a motor control center is similar in flexibility to a switchboard, because I can do a lot in a motor control center. Very similar to I can do a lot in a switchboard. Switchgear, I mean, I've got that. That's your big breakers. That's your big power circuit breakers. I can have controls and whatnot. I have cubicles for controls, but I'm not going to do with switchgear what I can do with a switchboard and a motor control center, for all that matters. I've not seen a motor control center with a panel board inside. Not to say they don't exist. All right, so good question, Mr. Snyder. Robert, components are listed individually and the assembly is listed as absolutely my point. Okay, so once we know what a panel board is, and we've identified, and we have we just had this discussion of the different UL standards. The assemblies are going to be listed to different standards. UL 67 is the standard for panel boards. I'm trying to remember what the... So if I go to the Panelboard Application Guide, camera A. If I go to the Panelboard Application Guide, which is there's a link to this in the description for this video. You'll see... There we go. This is what I was looking for. UL Product IQ. Panel boards are evaluated, can be found in the information for panel boards QEY and modular panel boards QFQF, which is located in UL Product IQ. So if I open in a new tab, Product IQ, and if you don't have Product IQ, you got to get this too. But the advantage that Product IQ has that NFP and Link doesn't is Product IQ is free. I love free products. Love it, love it, love it. Now I'm already logged in with my user ID and password. And if we go back to the application guide, QEUY, and I type in QEUY, it's going to bring up, and you'll see all of the different manufacturers. There's 5 pages of manufacturers. But what you're going to want to do is go to, you are looking for, I'll tell you what you're looking for. These are all the different manufacturers that have products listed. ABB, Eaton, Cooper, Pantrol, Duke, Rawabi, Milbank, Eaton. There is going to be, and there's, if Michael was here, he probably would say, Tom, here's what you need to do. I want to go to the, I can't remember what they call it. Guide info. All right, so I'm at QEUY guide info. I should do guide. There we go. There's the guide. QEUY guide information for panel boards. And you'll look, there's modular panel boards is QFQF, which we already saw. Marine panel boards is QFMQ. Switchboards, not a panel board. Control panels, remote. So let's take a look at the guide information for panel boards. It's going to tell you the marking, all of the covers lighting and power panel boards rated. You know, we don't do lighting. There's no lighting panel board like we used to have. Remember, we used to have a panel board that was a lighting panel board. I don't know what that means. Excuse me. There's your, so this is a great resource for you. Class CTL panel boards, marine panel boards. And there should be the other, let's go back. There's RV panel boards. Let's go back. Remember, there was a marine panel board, was QFMQ. If I go to that, QFMQ. But in the panel boards guide information, there's no QFMQ. If I do a search, Control F, QFMQ, I'm going to find anything there. There's related products. So, Michael, I would suggest if you could add that product category code for marine panel boards, that would be good. We have a section for it, but I think what you would want to do, just my opinion, is add that QFMQ link in there. So anyway, okay, so you have, this will give you a lot of the information that you will need for proper application of a panel board. So great information, great resource, a great free resource available from UL. All right. What else on there? So you'll know it's going to be marked. You're going to have your identification information, your catalog information, your voltage rating, current rating, short circuit current rating. Now, unfortunately or fortunately, the short circuit current rating is typically your short circuit current rating is typically going to be a recipe on the door of a panel board. And Michael Hofkin, we will take your suggestion under advisement. Is this like a public input, Michael? Should I make a formal public input? I'm just saying. I'll look forward to that change. But a short circuit current rating, let me see what the UL says. Yes, some panel boards may be marked to indicate one or more short circuit current ratings, which are dependent upon the use of specific integral or remote main overcurrent devices when protected. So here's good language. You see on here where it says when protected by, and they have a spot, ampere maximum class fuse or circuit breaker rated not more than so many amps, this panel board is suitable for use on a circuit capable of delivering not more than blank RMS amps. So the short circuit current rating will be dependent upon the overcurrent devices that are a part of that piece of equipment. The short circuit current panel is equal to the, and there I've seen this too. So remember, and this is what I mean by the recipe. It says the short circuit current rating of this panel board is equal to the lowest interrupting rating of any installed breaker or fused switch, but not more than blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. So they may have a bus rated short circuit current rating, SCCR, that you can't exceed. But the SCCR is going to be dependent upon the clearing time of an overcurrent protected device. Laurel is saying, Chapter 9, Table A1 does verify the panel boards. Oh, perfect. Yes, research. So if you go to Chapter 9 in Table A.1a on page 738, Laurel's telling us that you'll see the panel boards are listed to UL 67, and the UL 67 standard is found there. And I'm guessing, Laurel, that's probably for Article 408 for panel boards. I would make that assumption, but because I think the way that table is laid out is by articles. So, very good point. Thank you very much, Laurel. The interrupting rating. So load separate. Okay, so what we know is we identify the panel board. Then, I think I got ahead of myself a little bit. Once you know that it's a panel board, then what we're going to do is Yep, Article 408. Thank you, Laurel. So then what we're going to do is we're going to look and say, now I need to find where in the code would I have requirements for that panel board. So if I think about the way the code is laid out, you have your general requirements in a chapter 1. So there might be requirements for panel boards in chapter 1, wiring and protection in chapter 2. I could see it is likely that in chapter 2 you have some requirements that impact the panel board because protection, and you want to protect the panel board itself. Chapter 3 is wiring methods and materials. There probably are requirements in chapter 3 because you're going to land and you're going to route wires. You're going to probably bring a wire into that panel board. It's probably going to use a raceway of some sort, and it will be wire. So chapter 3 is probably going to impact a panel board. And then you've got equipment for general use. And now if I would think panel boards are equipment, man, we could go over the definition of equipment, but I did have a previous video where we did that. If I look at equipment, I have flexible cords, fixture wires, switches, receptacles, switchboards, switchgear, and look at that, panel boards. These little flags here, you can bookmark these. I can't remember how to do that. I don't know how I did that, but I did it. And there's your panel board. So Article 408 covers switchboards, switchgear, and panel boards. It doesn't apply to equipment operating over 1,000 volts except as specifically referenced. So what we've done is we have first ascertained what is the equipment that I'm looking at. Based upon that definition and based upon us meeting the defined term of panel boards, then I look and I know panel board could be probably equipment for general use. Another equipment chapter is chapter 6 for special equipment, but I wouldn't think that a panel board, because panel boards are so common, I wouldn't think that a panel board is special. So you would automatically, this is just a way to navigate your way through the code to identify. So then okay, I'm in Article 408. 408 is separated into parts. Part 1 is general. So anything in Part 1 would apply to panel boards, switchboards, and switchgear. And what do you have? You have reconditioned equipment in Part 1, 408.2. This tells us that panel boards are not permitted to be reconditioned. A reconditioned panel board is not permitted in the installation. Whether it's reconditioned in place or reconditioned somewhere, installed, whatever you're doing with it, it's not permitted. It's not saying you can't recondition a panel board. It's just saying you can't put it in the power distribution system. 408.3 is where you're seeing support and arrangement of bus bars and conductors and bus bars on a switchboard, switchgear, or panel board. So 408.3a applies to a panel board. Talks about the where they can be located. They have to be free from damage, all that jazz. They got overheating and inductive effects with regard to the panel boards. Use as service equipment. Each switchboard, switchgear, or panel board, if used as service equipment, has to provide a main bonding jumper sized in accordance with 250.28. So they tell you where in Article 250 you need to reference to size the main bonding jumper. And then that's a defined term. So a main bonding jumper is also a defined term back in Article 100. All sections of switchgear, switchboard, switchgear. So now there's the last sentence that says all sections of a switchboard or switchgear shall be bonded together. You're not going to have that with a panel board because a panel board is self-contained. It doesn't have sections. Terminals, switchboards, and switchgear. Load terminals shall, for field wiring, shall comply with 408.18c. Panel board is not in that requirement. Bus arrangement, so that's in 408.3. Then there's 408.4, talks about the circuit directory, and we made changes in circuit directories permitting. Remember, this is the circuit directory is the labeling on the inside of the equipment to tell you what each of those circuit breakers feed. We recognized over the cycles, code cycles, that you could probably have a little bit more than the space that's provided. So we gave you provisions to be able to put that circuit directory in a separate booklet or document that's nearby the panel board. You have clearances in 408.5, clearance for conductors entering the bus enclosure. 408.6 is the short circuit current rating. And so it says switchboards, switchgear, and panel boards have to have a short circuit current rating not less than the available fault current. In other than 1 and 2 family dwelling units, the available fault current. Now, that first sentence of saying that a switchboard, switchgear, and panel boards have to have a short circuit current rating not less than the available fault current, I would argue that's a 110.10 thing anyway. But the second sentence is not a 110.10 thing. In other than 1 and 2 family dwelling units, the available fault current and the date the calculation was performed shall be field marked on the enclosure at the point of supply. The marking shall be of sufficient durability to withstand the environment involved. So the second sentence of 408.6 tells us we need to mark the available fault current on that enclosure and the date that the calculation was performed. That gives us context. Make sure that if I made changes after that fact, it tells me that, look, I reviewed this and the fault current at this date was X. The SCCR is Y. Y needs to always be greater than X. So, and then 408.7 just tells you plug all those unused openings. 408.9 talks about replacement panel boards. So this was a new section in the 2023 code cycle. And what it tells you, it deals with what we call retrofit interiors. And I have a slide on that. Let me show you something. So, retrofit interiors. All right, so you may have an existing enclosure that has the wires coming down through the walls of that panel board. And you may need to update the panel board itself, which is what's installed inside, right? If you remove the enclosure, obviously you have wires that poke down through, so you're going to have to pull those wires back. That means you got to take the drywall or plaster all the ways around the box, because you've got to get to the wires because they may be stapled up inside, they may be secured in place. And if there's conduit or raceway connected, you have to pull it back up through the raceway, the conduit. Because if you're going to replace the entire enclosure, you've got to disconnect the conduit. So it gets complicated and it gets expensive very fast. So manufacturers came out with this solution of having an interior such that you take the contents of the existing interior out. You disconnect all the wires. Take basically the panel board out of the enclosure. Now you have a box with wires coming through down into that box. Manufacturers came up with this idea, this concept of taking a panel board then and putting it in that same enclosure, because think about it, the enclosure, if the enclosure is in good shape, especially if it's in good shape, why take the enclosure out? The panel board is going to be connected to the enclosure. Now, there will be instructions that you would find with these types of solutions that would provide you the information necessary for the installation of these, I'll call them interiors, retrofit panel boards, inside of an existing enclosure, whoever makes the enclosure, because the enclosure could be anybody's. Sometimes, most manufacturers of a panel board will make their own enclosures, but I could go to an enclosure manufacturer and put a panel board inside of it, as long as I have and follow the rules. Now, if it's a listed product applied and installed per the manufacturer's instructions, in 408, section 408.9, I have the requirements that help me understand how to apply that solution. And what 408.9 is telling us for replacement panel boards, because remember, the panel board is not the enclosure, it's just the interior. You have to comply with 408.9a, which is panel boards that are listed for the specific enclosure, and B, panel boards that are not listed for the specific enclosure. So let's say, for example, you had an enclosed panel board enclosure, an enclosed panel board. You took the panel board out and you want to use the Eaton enclosure and put in a replacement panel board made from some other manufacturer. That would be a panel board that is not listed for that specific enclosure unless the manufacturer of that panel board, that panel board, that interior, basically calls out that panel board or that enclosure. Man, I'll tell you. The enclosure. If I call out that specific enclosure, then I would fall under A. If I don't call out that specific enclosure, then I fall under B. Now, what does A tell me? A says, panel boards that are listed for the specific enclosure. If the replacement panel board is listed for that specific enclosure, and it'll be identified by a catalog number or any dimensional information. So I could say I have an interior panel. Well, that's interesting. So the way the language reads, let's read this. The way this language reads, it says, if the replacement panel board is listed for the specific enclosure, it has to be identified by either a catalog number, meaning I'm identifying the catalog number of the enclosure, or dimensions. So if my panel board is, 24 by 36, and the replacement panel board says I can put this into an enclosure that is 24 by 36 by 3.5 or whatever the dimensions are. If my panel board matches those dimensions, then I'm under A, panel boards listed for the specific enclosure. And what it says is the panel board, right here, the panel board is permitted to maintain its short circuit current rating. So if I have a retrofit interior that is designed for a, 24 by 4 by 36 box, and I go to, manufacturer Schmuckatelli, and I go to Schmuckatelli manufacturer panel board, and I take his interiors out, and I measure the box, 24, 36 by 4, whatever, and my panel board is designed for that size of an enclosure, I'm in 408.9a. So now, because it says or dimensional information, in 408.9b, panel boards that are not listed for this specific enclosure, if the available fault current is greater than 10,000 amps, the completed work has to be field labeled. If the available fault current is 10,000 amps or less, the replacement panel board has to be identified for the application, If the available fault current is 10,000 amps or less, the replacement panel board has to be identified for the application. Any previously applied listing marks on the cabinet that pertain to the panel board has to be removed. So that helps you, that gives you information on applying those replacement panel boards. 408.9. Let's take a look at the next edition. What does 408.9 say in the next edition, the 2026 edition, darling? 408. Oh, I clicked on 406. I'm like, this doesn't even look anything like 408. All right, 408.6, 408.9. Replacement panel board shall be permitted. Doesn't look like they made any changes. I'm looking first draft. 408.9. 408.6. Nope, it did not change in the 2026 edition. So the language that we went over is exactly the way it is, the way it was, and the way it shall be. I heard a note come in. Steve says, it is vital for inspectors to understand descriptions, product standards, listing specs, and maintenance requirements of panel boards to recognize problems that aren't only compliance with the NEC. That is a very good point, Steve. Remember, and somebody said this in a class. Somebody had said this in a class, and I loved the statement. They said, if you design to the National Electrical Code and you meet the National Electrical Code, you have done the bare minimum that you could possibly do for the installation. Bar none. It's the bare minimum. You've done the least that you could do. Oh, man. It was hilarious. And I love that statement. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Absolutely. Thank you, Laurel. You not only research, but you are our marketing expert. I'm not good at marketing. I'm not good at that whole thing. I appreciate you and I value your statements. All right, so we know part 1 of 408 applies to all panel boards as well, unless it specifically says it only applies to switchboards and switchgear. Then you go to part 3 for panel boards in Article 408. Now remember, I can have a panel board installed in a hazardous location. I'm going to go to Chapter 5. If I have a panel board installed as service equipment, I go to 230. All that jazz. Everyone involved needs to understand those aspects. Yes, Steve, I couldn't have said it better. That's a very valid point. All right, so then we go to panel boards in part 3, and we have to follow the rules in part 3. That'll tell you the rating of that panel board. It'll tell you the overcurrent protection requirements for the panel board, panel boards in damp and wet locations, how to handle those, the enclosure of the panel board. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sections in part 3 that specifically apply to panel boards. Talking about orientation, and we've had this debate on whether or not you can put the panel board in the face up position. And panel boards in damp and wet locations. We talk about the enclosures. We talk about the arrangement of switches and fuses. We talk about the bonding and grounding of panel boards and the grounded conductor terminations, all that jazz. So, and then part 4 is your construction specifications, and part 4 does not specifically call out a panel board, switchboard, or switchgear. It's general construction specifications. So what you'll see in there, you'll have bus bar, you'll have your protection of instrumentation controls. This is in 408.54. Remember, there used to be the 42 overcurrent devices. That used to be your 42 disconnect or your 42 circuit breaker rule. We removed the 42, so you can have a panel board as as many breaker spots as you want. The wire bending space in a panel board is covered in this section. You have your minimum spacing requirements, and then the panel board markings is 408.58. I don't know why they wouldn't put 408.58 in part 3, which deals with panel boards, because 408.58 just deals with panel boards. Panel boards have to be durably marked with the manufacturer, the voltage, the current rating, the number of phases, etc. Good room. Oh, I probably know why. If I look at part 3, you have 408 to 30. Well, there's room. 30 to 36. You've got a few there. 37, 38, 39, 44, and 43. So there's, and part 4 begins with 408.50. So there's room. I think 408.58 should be put somewhere up in part 3. All right. So what we did, we started with the definition. We sort of rambled around. We ended up in Article 408. We know that panel boards are going to be impacted in 230, 240, Article 240, Article 230 for services, Article 240 for overcurrent protection. If it's in a hazardous location, go check out Chapter 5, all that jazz. Felix, you are very welcome, and thank you for joining the team during our discussion. Simple inspector certification isn't enough. He fully must understand what is being inspected. Everybody involved. You're absolutely right. So proper application of the products. Look for those listing marks. Question everything you see and everything that you're told. Love the discussion, Jason. Thank you. That hour went fast. Next week, yes, Laurel. Thank you very much. I'm trying to think next week. What's next week? I will be able to go live next week. That is the day after Labor Day. I'll go live. I'm taking vacation that week. We will go live and we will have a discussion, and maybe we will continue our discussion on panel boards. I think we're not done with panel boards. I want to go over short circuit current ratings. I want to go over series ratings. I want to go over arc flash calculation. I want to go over a lot more with regard to panel boards. Panel boards, one of the most heavily used pieces of equipment in our power distribution system. We need to thoroughly understand it. All right. Thank you, Michael Hofken. Salute. And thanks everybody out there for joining in. It is 1:03. I've got lunch waiting for me. Take care, stay safe, and please stay healthy. Thanks, Joe. Take care.